I know you have a film kind of background. How did you get into comics? Kind of like what drove you into getting into comic books?
Well, it started with just loving comics. So going to the comic book shop was one of the first things I did when I got my driver's license. This was in the early 90s, the whole image boom. I was way sucked in by that whole era. And so started there. Then in college got into the darker stuff, Frank Miller and some of the amazing stuff that was coming out at that point. And that planted a seed for how good the medium could be. And so when I was pursuing film was obviously just prohibitively expensive. And my whole model is to, I read this book called Hitmakers. Have you read it?
Mm.
It's actually really interesting. But the punchline is basically that it is, in any creative endeavor, you have to be able to survive a really bad hit ratio. And so I thought, okay, how could I survive a 1 in 20 hit ratio? Creating intellectual property that is visual, that's going to do the kind of storytelling that I want to do. And the just obvious answer was comic books. So they're expensive, but they're cheap enough compared to, say, film or TV, where you can tell a really epic story and them not work. And so that you could go back to the drawing board over and over and over. So that just became the obvious place for us to start, given what we're trying to do with impact theory as a studio.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the greatest things about the comic books is you can go and you can take a comic book, and what it would cost for a film with explosions and special effects is so much easier when it comes from someone's imagination.
Right.
And so that's crazy.